Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and this is a point in time where I'm a little bit tired, didn't really sleep much, got up early, and said, why don't I review a couple movies? Why don't I review a couple films? And in fact, some Jet Li movies. A while ago I had reviewed Kiss of the Dragon, which is my favorite Jet Li film. I explained why in that review. Love Kiss of the Dragon. But why not take a look at some of his other American films? Now, his first American film was Lethal Weapon 4, which was produced by Joel Silver. Now, Joel Silver liked what he saw from Jet Li, and he said, you know what, I like this guy. He did a great job as a villain. Let's give him a starring role. So the year 2000, you had Romeo Must Die with the singer Aaliyah, who passed away. I think she was going to be in Cradle to the Grave with Jet Li and DMX, who were both in this. But I'm not sure if it was that or maybe Matrix, one of the Matrix films. Maybe both, I can't remember. This film also has Don Cheadle, who would work with Jet Li in a movie called The One. You have Russell Wan, you have Isaiah Washington, who had worked with his director, Exit Wounds. Like I said, DMX has a part in this, and it's directed by, I'm going to butcher his name, Andrzej Bartkowiak, and like I said, produced by Joel Silver and Jim Van Wyck. Stars Jet Li as a guy who, you get the idea, he used to be a cop, but then he went to prison because he helped his brother and his father escape custody because they were criminals. And then the father had went to America while Jet Li was behind bars in Hong Kong. And in America, you have this sort of feuding war between these two clans, these two gangs, these two families. One is Delroy Lindo, who's sort of the nicer kind of gang. However you want to call it. Not mafia, crime boss, however you want to put it. While Jet Li's dad is the more cruel type of boss. And then each of their sons die. One son being Jet Li's brother, the other son being Delroy Lindo's son and Aaliyah's brother. Jet Li hears about this in prison. He escapes prison, goes to America, meets Aaliyah by fate, by chance. They both realize who the other are. And I guess you're supposed to believe that they fall in love with each other. I think both of them did fine. Like Jet Li, for a guy who did not really know much of any English when he did this, I think he did perfectly fine. Aaliyah, she wasn't that bad at all. She was actually pretty decent. And Jet Li's trying to find out who killed his brother, while Aaliyah's trying to find out who killed her brother. And you find out sort of these sub-lieutenants of each family, one being Russell Wan, who, he's done a few flicks. I think he did a film with Steven Seagal and I reviewed it. I'm not sure if it's him or someone else. End of a Gun, or it might be someone else, I can't remember. He was also in these TV movies from back in the day, which I've heard of, I haven't seen. And what the hell was it called? It was... I'd have to look it up. But you can find it on Wikipedia, so there you go. Vanishing Sun. That's what it is. Vanishing Sun. It was these TV martial arts movies from back in the day. And I think it was a TV series as well. And long story short, this is what you get when you get up early, you can't talk straight. I thought this was a decent flick. I remember having some problems when I saw this back in the day, but seeing it again, it's not that bad of a movie. I think it's a fairly decent film. Like I said, Jet Li and Aaliyah do fine. One of my main problems with the film is the wire fu. I'm not a big fan of wire fu. Once in a while, it's fine, depending on the situation, depending on the movie. For example, I think they worked perfectly fine in the Matrix films. I like the way they look, I like the choreography, the way it made sense sci-fi plot-wise. Same with the one I could deal with in a film like that. This, though, same with Exit Wounds, which is from the same director. He will also do Cradle to the Grave and Doom. Although, to be honest, I liked all four of those movies. Right? Romeo Must Die, I will say it's more decent than I remember it being. I like Cradle to the Grave, which I'll get to. I do enjoy Exit Wounds. I already reviewed that when I did the Seagal Marathon. Steven Seagal Marathon. And then Doom, I've always enjoyed. I saw that, maybe in the theater. If not, I definitely saw it at home. And I know I'm one of the few that likes Doom, with Carl Urban and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. But the wire fu stuff, I felt it wasn't needed in this movie. That's why I prefer a film like Kiss of the Dragon, or even Unleashed with Jet Li, Fist of Legend. I like Jet Li in that parameter, not in the wire fu parameter. And apparently I wasn't alone, because after this, some people were like, oh man, do you have to do wire fu? Can you go more basic and street fight, like less wire fu? It was on one of Jet Li's websites or something. He listened to the fans, and he had Kiss of the Dragon. Because there are certain moments during the wire fu that there's one scene where a guy's doing this weird kick, only by wires, and you see the guy holding here, like right here, as he's doing the kick, and that's, in reality, him holding the wire. But it looks ridiculous when someone's grabbing this, or they're grabbing this, or grabbing this. It's like, okay, that's because of the wire. It just looks funky. It looks silly. The film starts out with a shitty DMX song. Can't remember what the hell it was. But yeah, you have this Chinese guy and a African-American club. And Russell Wong comes in and says, hey, you need to leave. Let's get out of here. Does this little fight scene, again with wire fu, which you can see that he held at one point when he did one kick. And that's his two sort of feuding families. But they find that guy hanging later on. And like I said, that's Jet Li's brother. He's told, he's in prison, starts his fight. This was a fairly decent scene. He's hung upside down, he's tied up, and he's beating these people up while swinging upside down. And I thought that was pretty interesting way of a fight. It's unique, it's not typical. And he's able to escape. They do this weird thing with this X-ray bone break, and they do that 2 times. They do one time when he escapes, and you see him break a bone, and he like fucks up everybody, and then you see at the very end. So they do it 2 times. So I thought that was kind of a weird choice. I mean, I don't think it's awful. It's just, okay, it's weird. I mean, if I want to see that, I'll see Street Fighter with Sonny Chiba, which I enjoy that film. But okay, you know, it's 2 and a little bit different, a little bit not the norm. And pretty much things ratchet up. A barbershop gets blown up. Jet Li steals his cab. Aaliyah gets in it. And yeah, I thought they did fine acting-wise for what they had to do. Anthony Anderson, he's another guy who's in this. He was in Exit Wounds. He was in Cradle to the Grave. He was in this one. So he's worked with this director a lot. Anthony Anderson, I've always liked him. Granted, some of his choices are kind of, He did not need to be in Transformers. And it's funny because he's disappeared. He was never in any of the sequels. He did not need to be in Scream 4. They wrote him some really bad lines, unless he came up with it himself. Fuck Bruce Willis, as he got stabbed in the head. It's lame. But I liked Anthony Anderson himself. Funny guy. He does what he needs to do in this film. He does fine. I do like when Isaiah Washington beats him up after he makes a joke and he goes, if I want Eddie Murphy, I'll go to the goddamn movies, after slapping the shit out of him. So that made me chuckle. Jet Li starts seeing Aaliyah. Anthony Anderson, this guy tried to beat up Jet Li, and you get this little scene where Jet Li's sort of going down, I don't want to say banister, but going down the stairs, and these people keep coming up, and he beats them up, and he even has this sort of whip type thing that he beats them up with, makes the guy's pants fall down, playing with them, not really hurting them, because he knows he's better than them. It's like a belt, but it's sort of like a zip tie, because he beats them up, and then he's able to tie them up so that they can't do anything more. This neat little shot where he takes his legs and smashes through the banister to fuck up one guy. And like I said, that's where you get to find out later on that Jet Li was a policeman, helped his brother and father avoid arrest, but his father ran to America. Nice little scene where he's playing with Russell Ron, like they had a history together, and trying to fight him with his water bottle. Again, they're playing with each other at first because they're friends. Jet Li and Aaliyah again seeing more of each other, and that's when Isaiah Washington and Anthony Anderson offer him to play football. Decent little scene. Jet Li gets the shit kicked out of him at first. But then Jet Li, he knows what's up and beats him up with a football. Again, the only parts of that scene I did not like is the ridiculous wire fu instance. I do think if you cut out the wire fu and just had him fight like he did in Kiss of the Dragon, or even Cradle to the Grave, I think it would have been fine. It would have been perfectly fine. Yeah, it would have been better. Not fine. It would have been better. Because I'm just not a wire fu fan. Once in a while it can work, but this film didn't need that. Just like Edge of Wounds didn't need that. I know he did the Once Upon a Time in China films. I'm not a fan of those movies. Because with Jet Li, I prefer... So Once Upon a Time in China, I prefer Fist of Legend. That kind of fighting style. And just, again, the wire fu just... And that's why when I first saw it, but I moved past that. Because I thought this went at a decent enough pace. I didn't get bored. The cast did fine for what they had to do. Didn't really care for the soundtrack, to be honest. But I thought the other movies had better music. Like, even Kiss of the Dragon, that had a great soundtrack to me. Cradle to the Grave, I love X Gonna Give It To You, which was later used in Deadpool. But I love that song. And some of the other songs on Cradle to the Grave. This, I didn't care for the soundtrack at all. That's another thing I don't care for. But yeah, Delroy Lindo's son gets murdered. You have this scene where Jet Li has to fight this Chinese woman, but he's like, oh, I can't hit a girl, so he uses Aaliyah to fight with him. Actually, I take that back what I said before. There's 3 X-ray scenes. This is the other one where she falls and gets impaled, and you see like it impales her heart via X-ray. And kind of weird. I think because it's kind of just an odd choice for this kind of movie. There's fighting, and all of a sudden there's an X-ray. Yeah, I mean, just a director stylistic choice that he never did again in any of the other movies, whether it be Edge of Wounds before this, or was it Edge of Wounds before or after this? I can't remember. Actually, I think it was after this, because 2000, this is when I think Seagal did The Patriot or something. God, I can't remember now. Yeah, it's one of those things where, I could deal with it, but I could see why people would be like, oh, that's kind of weird. Isaiah Washington kills DMX. The whole plot is dealing with all these people trying to make them sign these deeds so this guy, this white guy, can sell his property to the NFL, something of that sort. So get the land to build something. I didn't give a shit, really. Wasn't really that important. I mean, no one's watching this type of film for the plot. The best scene of the movie, I would say, is when Jet Li at one point gets tied up, and Anthony Anderson's cronies are going to kill him, and he's able to get this water hose, this fire hose, and beats the shit out of him. That was a nice scene. Again, my only drawback to that is when he defies gravity. And there's like a point he jumps on here and goes blah 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 blah. It looks hokey to me. It looks fucking crappy to me. At the meanwhile, Delroy Lindo and Isaiah Washington them have this meeting. It goes bad. Delroy Lindo gets shot, but he doesn't die. Jet Li chases after Russell Wan, and they have this fight. An alright fight. Gets to a point where he makes and burns Jet Li's hands with these coals. Tortures him. And I thought Russell Wan did fine. I like the line he says, give me some skin, baby. And it's like ripping the skin off his hand and making Jet Li scream. I thought that was a nice touch from the bad guy. And Jet Li just threw him through this fence on fire, but then Jet Li comes out, slow-mo, bandages his hands, beats the shit out of him. This is that awkward looking, if you see the trailer, it's the last shot of the trailer. This awkward where he does like this, and that kind of looks alright. Like this sort of kick where he's on his, how do I put, the legs on the side and goes up and slams on him. But then it does this awkward thing where he goes back and then kicks the guy's head. And then that's where you get the third and final x-ray where the kick crushes the guy's spine. That looked really awkward. It's like they did one shot like this where he kicks him, then another shot where he kicks him in the head, and then they splice them together with CG work, and it just looks a bit hokey. But he finds out that his own father was part of it. His own father had his son, aka Jet Li's brother, killed. The father kills himself. And then Jet Li and Aaliyah walk off to the song by Aaliyah. Set yourself up and try again. Try again. To be honest, that's probably the only halfway decent song in the movie. And I know most of this review has just been me explaining the plot, but it's just me getting sort of my bearings on how I feel about it. Because it's not that I love the film. I don't think the film's underrated. I don't think the film is great. I don't think the film is awesome. You know, I think the film is decent. Okay, decent. Positives, I think Jet Li and the cast did fine. Russell Wan, I think, did fine as the villain, as did Isaiah Washington, and he gets killed by just Aaliyah shooting him. A few of the action scenes were decent to watch. Jet Li escaping while being upside down, tied up. The scene with the fire hose, that was fun. The fight scene that he has at the end with Russell Wan was pretty decent. Again, if you just did not have the wire fu, they would have gone from decent to solid. But the wire fu just ruins it. It doesn't ruin it, but it just tampers it to me where it goes from awesome to it's decent. Aaliyah, for a senior, she did fine. I thought she did perfectly fine. Jet Li, for a guy who didn't know really any English, you know, he was good in the movie. Delroy Lindo's a good actor. Isaiah Washington, I think he's a good actor. Soundtrack I didn't care for. So, like, negatives, the big negatives to me is the wire fu and the soundtrack. Because, again, the only halfway decent song to me is the one at the end titles. But it went at a decent enough pace. I wasn't bored. I think for the most part it was a well shot flick by the guy. The X-ray things were kind of awkward, but at the same time, like, okay, a little bit different. Like, okay, I'll take it. Jet Li, he can move, he can... I mean, I don't think they're the wildest action scenes since The Matrix, which was a year before this. But I mean, I can see this. Jet Li is a one-man Matrix by Newsweek, and you know he is a great martial artist. You can't take that away from him. Again, sorry for stuttering. This is why you don't do reviews very, very early in the morning. And if you're wondering, that's the inside of it. It's one of those old Warner Brothers not clamshell, but I like these kind of DVDs. People don't like them, but I like them because they feel sturdy. They feel as if I won't touch them, they crumble into my fucking hand. So I like these kind of cases, these cardboard type of cases. I've always enjoyed them. And even this little flap, I like that bit. It's satisfying. And this actually had features, really enough. Behind-the-scenes documentary, 3 music videos, Aaliyah's Aaliyah and DMX's Comeback in One Piece, and Making Aaliyah's Aaliyah video. Some mini documentaries, some action scene mini documentaries, personality profile showcasing Jet Li, Aaliyah, and Anthony Anderson, and some stuff with your DVD-ROM. But yeah, I think it's an alright film. It's an alright film because of the cast, because some of the action scenes are pretty decent, went at a good enough pace, and I thought it was decently shot. I think the director didn't do that bad of a job. Again, if you just lessen the wire food or just take it out completely, and the soundtrack, I just get some better songs. Or, I mean, hell, just if you can't have better songs, just have a good score. Either way. Yeah, I think it's an okay, decent film. I don't think it's that bad of a movie, but I don't think it's that great of a movie either. It's okay. I think it's an okay film. Definitely a lot. There's been a lot better ones. Fist of Legends, Kiss of the Dragon. I would put the 1 above it. I would put... my 2 favorites are Kiss of the Dragon, Unleashed, and then Fist of Legend. Those are my top 3. But there's definitely been worse. There's definitely been much worse, like this piece of shit. Which I'll get to that. But anyway, in fact, I'll probably get to that after this. But thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.